the different types of angles. So there are two different types of angles where the vertex is on the circle. When the vertex is on the circle, we're always going to take that inscribed angle is equal to half of the arc. Vertex on the circle, vertex on the circle. So we are going to take half of the corresponding arc in order to find the angle. Another type of angle is when the vertex is inside the circle. So here we have the vertex that is inside the circle, and that is going to be equal to half of the sum of the arcs. And then I actually forgot the most basic one, the central angle, where the angle is equal to the arc. So we have a central angle where the vertex is the actual center, at the center, equal to the arc. We have on the circle, and is equal to half the arc. And then we have inside the circle, but not the center, and it's equal to half of the sum of the arcs. And then lastly, you have the vertex is outside the circle, B and C and B there, and it is equal to half the difference of the arcs. So those kind of go through and review those. I would encourage you to pause at this point and attempt to solve as many of these review type of reviewing all of these different types of angles for A through L here. Now, as I go through these, pause it if you need to at any point. But so for letter A, we have a central angle. So it's equal to 64 because it's the central angle. And then because C is the center, that's the diameter. So I'm left with 116. For B, inscribed is 67, cuts through to this arc. So twice of 67 is going to leave me with 134. Twice 55 corresponds there, which is going to give me 110. Subtract those two from 360 to give me my last one, which is 116. C, I know that vertical angles are congruent, so that is 63 degrees. I can then subtract those two angles from 180 to get my triangle sum. So angle Q is 70. And then the measure of SR intercepts that. So 70 is equal to half of the measure of SR. So I know that that has got to be 140 degrees. X, the vertex is outside of the circle. So X is equal to half of 140 minus 40. So I get X is 50. E, the vertex is outside the circle. So 40 is equal to half of the two arcs it intercepts. 130 minus X. So we get X is 50 degrees. F, I have a 20-degree angle here, which corresponds to that arc, so I know that that arc is 40. I have a 70-degree angle here, which corresponds to that arc. So I know that that arc is 140. I now have angle X with a vertex outside of the circle. So I know that X is equal to half of the 140 and the 40 difference. So I get X is 50 again. For letter G, I get an inscribed angle here at 26. So that makes this angle 52 degrees. I also have a supplementary angle here. Supplementary to 70 is 110. I can then apply my triangle property of 110, 26 and find the missing angle there is 44 degrees. And that is also an inscribed angle, and it corresponds with that arc, making that arc 88 degrees. Now I can find X with vertex outside. X is equal to half of the difference of the arcs. And I get X is 18. Supplementary, X is 140. J was, the numbers were brutal, so I'm actually going to, if you did J already, I apologize. I'm changing those numbers to be 45 and 147. This vertex is inside the circle, and it corresponds to 45 and 147. So since it's inside and not the center, X is equal to half of the sum of those two arcs, which means X is 96. And then for the last one, I have, before I get started to the big one, I have X as that arc, using the other intercepted arc with those same chords as 100. So I am going to first find the supplement of that 75-degree angle is 105. And then since the vertex again is inside but not the center, 105 is the angle. So it is equal to half of X and 100. And I'm going to get that X is 110. Lastly, looking at a big couple circles, they both have the same center point. So first off, looking at angle X, it is an inscribed angle to 112 degrees for the small circle. So that is 56 degrees. 56 degrees. So then when we find the measure of AB, I then need to look at the big circle, those two chords. X is now not the center of the big circle, so it is going to be equal to one arc intercepted and the other arc. So 56 is going to be equal to half of the sum of 87, and then we'll call this W. Multiplied by 2. I'm going to get that arc is 25 degrees. So again, remembering those four different types, where the vertex is, whether it is inside the circle, on the circle, outside, or the center. So please review those. And that will conclude our notes for 10.5.